Shalom, Salama, Siemi, Shalom. Greetings, Israelite brothers and sisters, those that are Gentiles that are grafted in, and those that are of the natural branch. So I want to first say shalom to everyone because we are in a time, we're in a time that's historical. And it's historical because when we're starting to understand who we are in this awakening, we actually have to pause and think about what we were when we were asleep. See, just because we've awakened to just a little bit of truth and knowledge doesn't mean that we're perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And you can even find some of our um, more renowned or prestigious Israelites that have been walking this truth and teaching in this truth, they'll even say the same thing. Because here's the thing, nobody has or has had a guide to being an awakened Israelite. Nobody has codified rules of, well, this is what you need to do as you have awakened. For us, we awakened to being an Israelite, to knowing who we were, simply because we were reading the word. And when we were reading the word, the Holy Spirit had put that on our hearts that we knew the understanding of who we were. And see, we knew the understanding of who we were because, see, just for me, when the Holy Spirit spoke to me, I heard it, but I had to investigate. I had to analyze. I had to see what was really happening in this. And so the time that it took me from 2016 to when I really addressed everything to about 4 or 5 months ago when I opened up in my little testimonial, my awakening and understanding was basically speaking to folks on a local level, speaking to folks at my work, at my kids' activities and functions. And the funny thing is, a lot of Black people, you talk to them one on one, a lot of spirit filled Black folks, they already know this. But it's a hard concept because, see, when you're actually operating in the spiritual, you have a conflict with your natural. That's in your word. Look, the natural man's always going to have enmity with the spiritual. We know this. But as we begin to grow, which we have and which we're doing, because we already know that in this time when we would awaken, when we would come to ourselves, that's Daniel 12:4, at this time when knowledge has been increased, at this time in captivity when we would turn to the Most High and seek his face, that's in Jeremiah, that's in Isaiah, that's in Zechariah. We go over all the biblical terms And I credit um, the brothers like Brother Callahan, um, Teo Ministries with Teo and Yakoba, and other brothers like Brother Christian that provide scholarly work that actually really codified all of the references to what we all go through over a period of time. It is really like if you've been to college, if you've earned a degree, you understand, man, I have to go through this course syllabus. I have to go through these core requirements. I have to do my electives. Some folks choose to do electives in awakening. Some folks choose to do electives in really drilling down on the scholarly biblical work. Some folks choose to do their elective on the evangelical or evangelism of awakening other Israelites. And it's just not limited to that. But that's where we start to actually understand who we are, because we're not understanding who we are in a natural, we're now understanding who we are in a spiritual. And see, when we do that, we're going back into where our hearts are getting circumcised. We're cutting away the flesh that was encompassed by what we knew in this captivity. So I titled this, We Have to Learn to Build Each Other Up. So, learning to build each other up, you have to understand we were never a monolithic people. We were never a monolithic people. You know, the funny thing is, I always think about Numbers 13. And when you start to realize what Balak was trying to accomplish with having Balaam, son of Beor, going out and cursing the Israelites that was camped next to his back door, literally. He was up on the mountains and he said, Hey, Balaam, I need you. I brought you here. It took me 3 times to bring you here. Matter of fact, when he came here, an angel of the Lord actually stopped up the passageway, had your donkey talk to you, and then you still came on over and you just didn't curse Israel, but you blessed Israel 7 times. So Balak knew that there was a problem. Okay, wait a second. I brought this person on over to curse these people. How am I not going to curse these people? Aren't these people just like the rest of these other people? Won't they just kind of fall in line? Won't they just get the word from their leader or whomever they have in charge of them, and they'll just kind of go from there? No, no, because we weren't built like that. We were built to be an array, an assortment. We are a tribes. We are a peoples. Do they always say it's the tribe of Israel? The tribe of Israel. Uh-uh. Look it up. This is in the word. It's never, well, this is the tribe of Israel. It's the what? 12 tribes. Distinctions. Because even though we may know, okay, we're the house of Judah, we're Judah because honestly, Genesis 49, it gives a clear distinction of how we would be leading kings even in the moment of our weakness. And this is a moment of our weakness. This is the weakness, the weakest that we've ever been as a people in the history of us being a people. Don't believe me? Go out and do a poll and ask people in whatever source or world star hip hop, black or media takeout. Go to any mainstream quote unquote black publication and ask them, hey, do you consider yourself to be an Israelite? They'll look at it like, well, not sure. Probably not. I don't even believe in God like that. You're talking crazy. Because you want to know why? All that illustrates is that we're a destroyed people. I'm on a tangent just a little bit. Because here's the thing. When we look at this awakening and we think about how impossible it seems with the people becoming a nation overnight, that's one of the miracles, and that's the reason why the Most High is going to do what He's going to do. Can a people be a nation? Can a nation be born in just a day? Because here's the thing: we're still in captivity. Now we're understanding who we are in captivity, but we're still in captivity. And honestly, because we've been in our captivity and we've kind of lost our identity, we've suffered amnesia, that allowed us to stay safe. Think about that. It allowed us to stay safe. This is why you have revelations and they're talking about the women being sheltered into the wilderness. This is why we were scattered. Even the Most High says, look, I scattered you all for your good. Because why? If I brought you all together and I kept you together, then the nations would have destroyed you. Because why? Because I wasn't looking at you like that. Our current disposition right now is that the Most High does not have His face on us. And because of that, we've literally in the physical sense, we've been destroyed. See, we don't even want to think about how badly we have been destroyed because it will start bringing tears to our eyes and it will start making us mad. That's just in the natural. Nobody wants to hear about all the lynchings that took place that even currently go on today. Nobody wants to hear about all of the children dying in police custody, in the prisons, in the juvenile detention centers. We're just finally waking up and understanding that that has actually been happening. So now we're beginning to roar. You understand, when we actually roar, foundations start to crumble. When foundations crumble, things start to show. Holes start to form. Cracks start to appear. So we're seeing the cracks. We're understanding what's happening. But in the midst of these things, now that more people are waking up because the message has been told and shown, because the Most High Spirit is working even more and more. And I would also add, look, you also have in the natural, people are trying to explain what's happening. And the historical sources that would provide some sort of reasonable explanation, they are now at a loss of words. How many folks have woken up just recently? Well, I was in the church and then something didn't seem right because I tried to ask them, hey, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? And why do you think that this racism is the way it is? And what does the word say about it? Because when I listened to some people online, they gave some biblical insight. And now, aren't you my pastor? And I'm listening to them. What do you have to say? And then the pastor doesn't give an adequate response because his response is only dictated by the conditions of what the 501c3 states. Hey, we need to love each other. We got to love each other. We need to make sure that we love each other and we build each other and just keep loving and we'll have organizations and everything else based off of your tithes and your offerings to the church, and then we can start to make a difference. When we make a difference in this church, then that difference that we make in this church will make a difference in this community. And then that community will make a difference in the nation. And then the nation will make a difference in the world. European centric or Eurocentric Christianity Ponzi scheme. Because here's the thing, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And we saw that, man. There was a video. I know Seiji Hito had it on his channel. Credit him, Seiji Hito. But it was showing that there's a black lady just eating lunch in a park, and she was also working on her work. And instead of just doing it from her home, she wanted to do it in an area that was relatively secluded, but the area happened to be on church grounds. And then you have two older white Christians, quote unquote Christians, and they come on over and then they start harassing the young lady for just minding her business, for just being in captivity. Because you're starting to understand how everything is cracking in this system. And the foundations of the system was supposed to be, well, we're going to present something that is in a model of Christianity, but it ain't Christianity. We should have known that when the buck breaking process had started. We should have known that of who actually financed a lot of the slave trade, and who actually was a lot of the financiers and owners of the plantations. So it's on out there, but I'm not going to tangent to that message because my message is look, we've been destroyed, so now we need to learn how to build each other up. The Old Testament showed us that we're a stiff necked people. We're stiff necked because guess what? We just don't go with the flow. Do you hear what I'm saying? We always will do or think independently. How many of us have been on any type of projects or groups or assignments to where everybody gets that one idea and then they stick with that idea to the point of folly and you point on out to them because this is what we usually do. We are people that do this. We are people that do this, and we say, no, that I don't think that's going to work. And then we give the sensical reasons. Hey, number one is this, and we'll list from 1 to 10. Oh, you're just a naysayer. Oh, you don't think that that can happen. Oh, we need to get on board with the program because such and such's idea is so much better, which is probably obviously more than likely 95% is going to be a white person's idea that people just fall in line with. Because you got to understand, look, everybody that came over here to facilitate our captivity, they're going to be on the side of the captors. Just think about that. Every propped up demographic group that has come on over to produce that socioeconomic demographic buffer is going to be on that side because guess what? They took that oath that when they immigrate or they naturalize or they do whatever, they get their visa. Hey, I am going to support and defend the nature of white supremacy. See, for us, we never took that. When we became citizens, quote unquote citizens, we've always had that understanding. Okay, most of us have always had that understanding that, okay, even though we're here, guess what? We didn't come over here of our own volition. None of our family members did. But I think it's important right now, and it's imperative right now, that we're seeing why how these chips are breaking things down. And that is because our independent thinking, it always creates problems for other people. See, we now have to understand our independent thinking, that's not a problem for us. So going down the line, independence is dangerous when in captivity. Wait, you're not thinking like the group. You're not acting like them. You're not conforming to the cultural norms and values. And then what happens usually when that happens, and we just say no, enough is enough, and then we actually get together and enjoying ourselves for whatever the moment, whatever the idea, whatever we rally around. Because even in the civil rights era, you only still had about 10% of the black population supporting that. Just think about that. Only 10% of the black population supported it because it was just like, okay, I kind of see what he's doing, but what's it really going to do for us? Because we always want to have terms the way we want it. And I understand that. I want the same too. Absolutely. But see, when we start to explain, when we start to demonstrate through an articulate message, that becomes very dangerous. Wait. You're no longer given the narrative that we want you to give. You're cut off. Wait. We cut you off and you're still having support. Okay, now we got to get rid of you. Now you're dead. You want to know why you're dead? Because you're still in captivity. But again, independence is also a blessing when it's done in the right boundaries. And the right boundaries, I would say, is when you understand that the Most High allows you to work, allows you to think, allows you to have the space to understand. Look, it's interesting that in the Word, the Most High will bless the works of your hands. As long as you're not trying to do things that's scheming for evil, yeah, the Most High is not going to bless that. Lord, help me with my operation. What's your operation? Well, I want to be the biggest meth or coke dealer in the United States. Come on, Lord. I think you may be a little misdirected. When you say, Lord, help me to establish this so it can help the community, it can help the people, which will then provide for me and my family because we're supporting other families, other communities. The Most High said, okay, I'm gonna bless the works of your hands. Because as long as we engage in what is righteous, when you're operating in righteousness, look, there's no fault in that. So, why did I bring this message on up? And what do we ascertain from this message? Well, I speak on this because what we do now is critical to the future. See, in Deuteronomy, in Leviticus, and in Numbers, and even in Exodus, you actually get an understanding of what people, the Israelites, had and what they were doing in their captivity. Furthermore, if you look in the book of Jasher, it gives you a little bit more of a clear detail that's congruent to the Bible of the roles the Israelites had within captivity. See, some Israelites, you talk about leaving, you talk about an Exodus, you talk about everything that Moses was trying to do. Oh, they weren't going to have it. Wait a second, Moses. You're telling me that the God of Israel is getting ready to take us on out of here. You're telling me the same God, the same Ahiah, the same Most High, Yahuwah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, that they sent us here. He sent us here. Remember, our families came down. We were 77 altogether. Now we're millions, couple hundred thousands, million. No, Moses, I think you're on something. The Most High wouldn't say that. And Jasher, it actually is funny because it says that it it took Moses actually a couple of years. It actually took him about 2 years for the whole Exodus process to go through. And it's funny because as we had awake, and I know in my journey, and I awoke in 2016, it was really as that mass awakening had actually happened, then we understood, okay, we're in captivity. Then we started understood, wait a second, these scriptures are actually talking about how we're getting out of this captivity. And honestly, that was from about 2017 to 2018. And it was interesting because Teo, his his videos were actually confirming that. And then all the other camps were just like, okay, yep, yeah, 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 we're this cat, yeah, you're right. Because the thing is, when I just use that because here's the thing. We're now being led by the Holy Spirit. Let me explain this thing to you because it's going to be hard for people to really understand. See, when the Spirit of the Most High was poured on us, we're not being led by an actual person or a group of people or a tribunal or a governance system or anything else that we would consider or be considered in the realm of man made. Right now, we're actually being led by the Spirit of the Most High. Look, if I go away, somebody else is going to pop on up. If Dante goes away, somebody else is going to pop on up. If ministers Teo and Yacoba and Sister Eve, if they all go away, somebody's going to pop on up. Because you want to know why? Because we now understand, okay, the community is now has the traction, it's fruitful. And we're now understanding, okay, we're building up to a future where we're no longer going to be in captivity. Because you have to understand it's a natural, this is just a natural process of growing. When you plant a seed, that seed has to go in the ground. That seed has to take root. It has to sprout on up. It has to break the soil, sprout on up. Now, whether we're on the same page or not in terms of where we're at in the seedling process, I believe that the roots have grown and we're about to break through the soil so we can do what? Feel the sun on our face. And what does that mean if we feel the sun on our face? Guess what? We're going to spring up. If you ever had a garden, guess what? As soon as that seed as soon as the plant gets up on out that earth, man, it springs to life exponentially. And then when it reaches to where it needs to reach, then guess what? Fruit starts to bear. To do what? To put down other seeds. So as we continue to learn and we continue to grow, our attitudes are changing as we're developing in this awakening. And I would say that our attitudes are changing for the better because we're starting to understand and we're starting to be on one accord. Because you got to understand, guess what? In our captivity, our captors purposefully try to separate the men and the women. Don't believe me? Look at the campaign with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris if you don't believe me. Look at all the other analytical folks that you would have with the Black Authority, with Jason Black or Professor Black Truth or Tariq Nasheed. Those are just some to name. And even though they operate in carnality, they still understand, look, this is the game that's been played on Black folks from the time that we were buck broken as men to rob us of our natural power and authority, to the time that they would take our wives that were betrothed to us and then rape them when we would get married, whether still on the plantation and even afterwards. You got to remember, we're now understanding how this thing has moved and has evolved. And now, because we understand it, guess what? When you see the same old trick, when you see the same old play, when you see the same old pattern, you know the pattern. So, guess what? It's no longer effective. And because it's no longer effective, there's momentum to that. Because, see, everything that's tried to stymie this process, has tried to stop it in its tracks, it's not stopping it. Everything. They threw out the woodworks. They threw out as much as they can. Now they know that they can't stop it. Well, let me try to see what we can do to appease, because these folks are actually talking about that they're exodusing. So it's gonna happen, but let's try to make something on out here. Let's throw some reparations in there. Yeah, it's not popular, but guess what? What will not be popular? What will not be popular is if we don't have our service class and our industrial complex class available, because that's where we get 55% of our manufactured goods here in the United States. Oh, yes, look up the numbers. So if we can't get our goods at the slave rates, at the prices that we have been accustomed to, then our comfort is lost. Think about this. This is just going to be the same exact play that you're going to have with Egypt. See, Egypt was, I'm going to leave some around. That's what the Most High said. He said, I left them around. Why? As a constant reminder. Because when you go over to Egypt and you actually see the Egyptians that aren't the Hellenic or the Turkish Egyptians in the major cities of Alexandria and Cairo, when you start getting out into the country, you start to see Black people that look just like you and me. Why? Because the Most High said I had to keep them there so you could start understanding. Because not a lot of Black folks are going to want to travel or get out of this captivity, because captivity will tell you you don't want to go anywhere else in this world, because everything in this world is dangerous. It's dangerous. But just living here is even more dangerous. Go figure. Go figure. So Nothing is stopping this because this is coming straight from the Most High. But what I wanted to touch on this is that the cornerstone of how we learn to build each other up is love. See, we can go ahead and we can debate the commandments, follow them and not follow them, but even Jesus said, look, love thy neighbor as yourself. Paul had got into it, and Paul drilled down with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter, and he went down into it and how you express that love. How do you have that expression of love? And you can express love in a non-sexual manner. We've just been programmed in this society by our captors that everything that's loving has a sexual component to it. And that's a lie. But when we actually love people and we are understanding the loving kindness that the Most High has on us, then we understand, okay, that's that same loving kindness we need to show to our own people. Because I tell you, listen, even in this even this is in the awakening and in this Exodus, listen, I sometimes kind of question myself, and I have to say, okay, Lord, okay, Father, you're gonna take us up on out of here, knowing full well that there's a lot of us Israelites that have issues beyond issues. See, in my carnal, I think, man, yeah, we're at 400 years, but our people are acting crazy. I don't get it. Why would the Most High of Israel exodus us when we still have all this craziness? When we still have people twerking in front of police officers as a demonstration for us getting killed by the police and and fighting against systemic racism? Okay, makes no sense to me. But here's the thing, it's not supposed to make sense to you and I. Because here's the thing, the Most High isn't a man, and he doesn't think like a man. He has his plan, and he understands we're just damaged goods. We're all damaged goods. We're in a system that we have been broken for so long that he is carrying us up and out. Because you want to know why? This thing would be so astronomical that no man could do it at all. See, you have to understand when there's a Moses, when we had Moses, Moses could do it because here's the thing, people actually understood, the Israelites understood they were Israelites. They didn't have their identity taken, they didn't have their their knowledge of who they were stripped away from them. They knew who they were. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. The Most High said that He was going to revisit us and get us on out of here and bring us into our land. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what we always know. We know that. We understand that. Okay, well, I'm here to do it. Okay, we'll prove it. Oh wow, you're gonna do that? What are you gonna do? Look, and about the third or fourth demonstration of power, I think the Israelites were just getting stuff packed they started going to whatever um, um, ancient Egyptian Home Depot or a Lowe's store, and they started getting some boxes and some wrapping tape with some bubble wrap. Talking about, okay, well, let's start just kind of get the figurines just up in here, because I think that Moses may be onto something. We don't have that here. And you understand, look, it wasn't going to be like that here. Because if you read Jeremiah 50, it says, look, touch not the unclean things. We're going to be on out of here. We're going to be up on out of here. Do I really want my apple? No, man, I don't want nothing. Do you want this? Man, I don't want nothing. Well, don't you want some memories? Memories of what? I'm going to make some new memories when I'm up out of this captivity. The only thing I'm going to remember is what we need to do as a people to never go through this again. And to ensure that for generations, what happened and how things happened, that this was our last and greatest captivity. See, we actually don't understand. The book is still being written. You know what? I used to, when I was growing up in Christianity, it was, the word of the Most High is a living and breathing book. It always fits for what we're going in this, and whatever contemporary issue or things of that nature. That's how we would look at that. But you realize, listen, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Daniel, Zechariah, even even the apostles were writing books. I look at it like this. We're really living in the history of what was already established. So if you're not building each other up, then you're going to be in the process of tearing each other down. Nobody wants to be a Korah. For me, I'd rather be seen as a Joshua or as a Caleb. Hey, we can take these giants. What are y'all afraid of? We have the Most High with us. Now we can't do it. No, no, Okay, because of your disbelief, you're going to be in this wilderness for 40 years. No, I don't. Nope. Hey, listen, we're gonna slay everybody. Listen, Most High, whoever you put in front of us, I don't care if they have a nuclear weapon in front of them. We're gonna take it. Because you want to know why? Because we've learned a thing or two in this captivity. We may not have known who we fully are, especially at this time, but I guarantee you, as soon as the Most High turns his face back on us, it's a different game. So let's just kind of put this into context. Listen, do you know how crazy everything has been just with coronavirus? And how much the world just went in a complete 180. So you don't think that the Most High could actually do something within his power so quickly, so devastating, that things would move in the snap of a finger, in the blink of an eye? See, I believe that as we start to build each other up, we start to understand the actual power that the Most High has. Because it's true. A lot of us do operate in our carnality because that's what we're comfortable with. But see, we're looking forward to the future. We're looking forward. I'm looking forward to being in the land that the Most High has promised me. And I can say to my generations, to my sons and my daughters, and their sons and daughters, and their sons and daughters, hey, when we got on out of there, look, it was getting crazy. But you want to know what? All of a sudden, we all just came together. Look, we formed up better than Voltron. We had things moving better than Power Rangers. We were on it. And for some odd reason, we just meshed. We came together. We considered people's thoughts and we're like, yeah, that sounds good. We understood where people were coming from. Okay, I get that. Because we will consider all matters. That's prudence. But you also understand that when the Spirit of the Most High is on you, look, we come together in one accord because we will start to think and act and sound alike and the same. We're not going to be completely alike. We're not going to be completely the same because we still have that independence to allow for creativity. That's what the Most High loves about us. We are a creative people. But we're not creative in the terms of just creating and devising wickedness. We do it within a righteous standard and a righteous framework. So when we're out of this captivity and we know how to operate, you got to think we're going to be changing the world, which was always our goal to begin with. But we had to be at the lowliest of the lowly, destroyed, to be able to understand what we need to do once we're revived as a people. And that day of us being revived is coming sooner than we think. So if you like the content that I provide and that we provide from Covenant Awakenings, please like, share, and subscribe. Visit us at covenantawakenings.com where we update different blogs, videos. There's a downloadable book by Brother Christian that truly does help and aid with the awakening, and then it shows the awakening, the process. Because see, you have to illustrate that for Black folks to really get that. And Brother Christian did a fantastic job getting that knocked on out. So I also have here my Patreon and my Cash App. And I'll have these links provided below. I'm really pushing HebrewSphere.com. So I know that Minister Dante Fortune, he created that site, and that site is a wonderful site for Israelites to come together and to collaborate. So I think it's replacing a couple functions in the Black History in the Bible.com forums, and I know that that Teo Ministries is pushing that, along with their TEOTW ministries.ning.com. So with that said, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. So blessings and peace, Israel.